what he's doing is, I mean, kind of cool if he can continue to steal money.
Jake Paul is absolutely destroyed by boxing experts after he started rejecting offers to fight real opponents. But honestly, it's not shocking to me because it's obvious he is a man with juicy muscles and nothing more.
I tried to give the fight the best fight I possibly could, but when someone's just surviving in the ring, basically, it's hard to make it exciting.
This guy has been talking up his boxing career like it's the next big thing, but when it comes time to face actual competition, he's too busy or strategically planning. Who knows?
Jake Paul, you know, the famous YouTuber that stepped into boxing, and I'm not going to say he's made a mockery of boxing.
Jake Paul is picking fights with retired MMA guys and aging legends. And let's not forget, he even turned down a $3 million offer from Andrew Tate. So why reject it? Is Tate too old for him? Or is $3 million not enough? Either way, I think Jake has got boxing all wrong. But no worries, boxing experts are there to give him a brutal reality check.
The Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight.
Interesting.
Script. How so? What do you mean by
It's just
script?
weird. It just
Like scripted in what way?
no, I don't know. I actually really like Jake Paul. It just seems so it's odd, bro.
To start off, talk about the cherry picking because Jake is practically running an orchard at this point. From retired MMA fighters to aging legends, his opponents feel more like exhibition props than real threats.
It looked like Jake was actually signaling for him to
do that move.
Because he did like this.
Yeah.
It's a strategy to control the narrative and keep the undefeated label sparkling. But let's not kid ourselves. The big question looming over Jake's entire boxing career is simple. Is he scared of real competition?
I don't have 50 million to bet with you, but I do have 3 million to bet with you. So this is your offer. $3 million.
Andrew Tate, the controversial former kickboxing champion who lives for the drama almost as much as Jake does. Tate didn't just call Jake out. He kicked the door down and threw a $3 million bet on the table. And let's be clear, this wasn't your average let's fight for charity kind of call out. Tate made it personal.
I'm 5 years out the ring. I'm a kickboxer. You're 2-0 in boxing. I'm 0-0 in boxing. I've never even fought boxing. I'm a retired old man. 5 years I've been sitting around smoking cigars and bitches, which are better looking than the you're advertising anyway.
But then Jake did exactly that. He rejected the fight. Just flat out said no. The excuse? It's not a big enough draw. Well, I agree because 57-year-old Mike brings more cash and fame to the table. Smart move.
I believe he's put down every single fighter he's actually been against. Now, he's only fought one boxer before Tyson.
Fans were livid. The comment sections exploded with expert critiques. Jake's decision to dodge Tate wasn't just a missed opportunity, but a PR disaster. Because, let's face it, boxing isn't just about throwing punches. It's about proving something. And right now, Jake's only proving that he's really good at saying no. Joe Rogan laid into Jake's entire career strategy on one of his podcasts, dissecting it piece by piece. His verdict? Jake isn't here to prove he's the best. He's here to play it safe and cash in.
Because you look at Jake Paul, he fought Tyron Woodley, slept him, Anderson Silva, I think he fought Nate. If he wants to do boxing, why not fight guys that actually box for a living?
And Rogan isn't wrong. Take a look at Jake's opponents, Tyron Woodley, Ben Askren, and even Anderson Silva. Sure, they're big names, but they're either retired or way past their prime. Woodley hadn't won a UFC fight in years when Jake fought him. Askren? Known for wrestling, not striking. Silva? A legend, yes, but 47 years old at the time. This isn't about taking on legitimate threats. It's about picking fights where the odds are heavily stacked in Jake's favor.
Jake fought a guy who was his age and was also considered a boxer, and he lost. So if you can keep fighting 50-something-year-olds...
Dana White also drove the point home by comparing Jake's decision to fight Mike Tyson instead of Andrew Tate. Mike Tyson, a boxing legend, yes, but he's also 57 years old. Is he a genuine challenge for someone like Jake, who's younger, fitter, and actively training? Not even close.
I will fight you any day of the week. Don't worry about Conor McGregor you up. Don't worry about Floyd Mayweather you up.
Now contrast that with Andrew Tate. At 37, Tate is in his physical prime. He's a 4-time kickboxing world champion with a combat sports pedigree that Jake can't ignore. If Jake wanted to prove himself as a legitimate fighter, Tate was the obvious choice.
And the fact that he's willing to fight Tyson, even if Tyson's 57, just the fact that he's willing to actually take a chance at Mike Tyson not being able to do what he used to do.
But instead of stepping into the ring with someone his age and caliber, Jake opted for a spectacle, fighting Tyson. Rogan didn't mince words. Jake's move to fight Tyson wasn't about competition. It was about playing it safe and keeping the Jake Paul hype train rolling.
You know, I know a lot of people were pissed, and it was a bit of a shit show, but, you know, what did you expect? Seriously.
This brings us to the Tyson fight, a bizarre mix of nostalgia and controversy. On November 15th, 2024, Jake fought Tyson and won unanimously. And almost immediately, the whispers started. Was this fight real? Was it staged? Fans and critics couldn't help but notice how controlled the whole thing felt. Tyson, while still powerful, clearly wasn't fighting at full capacity. Meanwhile, Jake looked more polished than ever. A little too polished, some might say. Allegations that the fight was scripted started swirling almost as soon as the final bell rang. Leaked reports and insider gossip suggested that Jake's camp had negotiated specific terms to ensure a win.
I mean, what he's doing is, kind of cool if he can continue to steal money and they match him the way they match him. I can't knock his hustle. So if they can match him the way how they've been matching him, more power to him.
At this point, Jake's critics are louder than ever, and they're armed with more evidence than they know what to do with. Jake's carefully curated empire is starting to show cracks, whether it's the cherry-picked opponents, the scripted accusations, or the constant dodging of real challenges. And if he keeps avoiding fighters like Andrew Tate, those cracks are only going to get bigger.
As long as he continues to fight MMA guys and YouTubers, he's gonna continue to look good and shine. But once he fights a real fighter that can really fight, it's not gonna be that good.
Let's take a step back and really look at the blueprint of Jake Paul's career. Because let's be honest, it's less about boxing and more about building a brand, and a pretty calculated one at that. Jake's opponents, they're a mixed bag of retired MMA fighters, ex-NBA players, and of course aging legends who should be sipping margaritas, not dodging punches.
In the media, all the people that cover the Jake Paul fight and the things that they both are trying to be relevant. These media guys, the websites that cover it, and Jake Paul himself is trying to stay relevant and trying to get attention.
The pattern of Jake's fight is impossible to ignore. Jake isn't picking fights. He's curating performances. It's like casting a movie. You need names that sell tickets, but you don't want the cast overshadowing the star. Joe Rogan summed it up perfectly. Jake's fighting old, undersized guys and avoiding real competition. It's like he's allergic to unpredictability, and honestly, it's starting to get old. Pun intended.
This is the hardest sport in the world, and people dedicate their lives to this, and most of them never get a payday. It never pays off for the majority of fighters, who would f*** you up.
And that brings us to Andrew Tate, the self-proclaimed top G, who has been throwing psychological haymakers at Jake since he ghosted his $3 million fight challenge. Tate didn't just call Jake out, he humiliated him globally. He is making it abundantly clear who he thinks Jake is, a hobbyist playing dress-up as a boxer. And let's be real, Tate's not entirely wrong. Here's the thing. Boxing isn't just about what happens in the ring. It's about the narrative, the drama, the build-up. And while Jake is usually the one controlling that narrative, Tate flipped the script entirely. He turned Jake's silence into a statement that said, "I'm not ready for this."
If you want to fight and you want to send a contract, send one to me. I will take a few weeks break from living my retired life to kick the living out of a fucking goofy, entitled dickhead like you.
So, while Jake might be the king of spectacle, Andrew Tate proved he's the king of mind games. And in combat sports, that might be the most dangerous weapon. Let's talk about Jake Paul's future, because this is where things get interesting. The big question isn't whether Jake can throw a punch. We know he can. The question is, what's next? Can Jake Paul dig himself out of the pit of cherry-picked fights and prove he's more than a YouTuber in boxing gloves? Or is he on the fast track to becoming a walking meme?
There's a whole bunch of fighters out here who live in the real fucking world. Men who are dangerous and dedicated their lives to this sport and don't have a fraction of the money you have because you managed to become a fucking clown.
Right now, Jake's reputation is hanging by a thread, and that thread is fraying faster than a dollar store rope. The experts, guys like Dana White, aren't pulling their punches. Dana White laid it out. Jake Paul can fight, but he won't fight anyone real. Translation? Jake's got the skills, but he's too busy picking the path of least resistance to actually test himself. And here's the kicker. Fans are starting to notice.
Like I said before, they know what they're doing. Both brothers. Logan as well as Jake, they know what they're doing, so they're doing what they got to do. I can't knock them.
The wild card in all this is Jake himself. He's not dumb. He knows what people are saying. He knows the memes are out there, the tweets mocking him, the YouTube videos dissecting his every move. The guy thrives on attention, but this kind of attention, it's not exactly great for business. So, does he double down on his current strategy? Or does he finally take a risk and fight someone who can actually challenge him? And let's not forget, time isn't on Jake's side. Boxing isn't a career you can milk forever, especially if your reputation is built on shaky foundations. If Jake wants to cement his legacy, he needs to act fast. Because here's the hard truth. Spectacle-driven fights might sell tickets in the short term, but they don't build legacies. And legacy? That's what separates the greats from the footnotes.
As of right now, for what he's doing, it's good for what he's doing. But once he fights a real fighter, it's going to be bad.
But will he take that risk? Will Jake Paul finally step up? Or will he fade away? Another flash-in-the-pan celebrity whose career burned bright and fizzled out just as fast. That's the million-dollar question. And right now, the jury's still out. So, what's the verdict on Jake Paul's legacy? Is he a legitimate boxer carving out a new niche in the sport, or is he just a savvy businessman in gloves, more concerned with selling tickets than earning respect? Joe Rogan's take, Andrew Tate's taunts, and the growing frustration from fans all point to the same conclusion. Jake's at a crossroads. Which path he takes will define not just his career, but how he's remembered in the years to come.